Started. Thank you for joining us this morning, and thank you to those who are online as well. My name is Adam Zahn. I'm the Associate Director of Global Engagement here, and this is our faculty forum as part of International Education Week, so we're celebrating that this week to encourage all to think about international education. And this faculty forum is focusing on how you can leverage your international research, particularly for students. And we all know that that also helps feed back into our supporting international research in general. So I think it's a great topic. We have a couple of speakers here today. And here's going to be our agenda. We'll have Suzanne Rocheleau speak from the Office of Undergraduate Research. We have John Doherty here to talk about international co-op. Myself and Lota Buting from Office of Global Engagement and Education Abroad. We have some faculty here who are going to give their testimonials, and we can just have a discussion about how you can really think about your research expanding for student opportunities, which again will then feed back into your research and to our mission of supporting global engagement. So without further ado, Suzanne, if you want to jump up, and I will switch to your PowerPoint. Oh, actually, why don't we do some introductions too, if you don't mind, real fast. Just your name and your department would be really helpful. So we could start at this table. Sure.
Oh, sorry. Right when I had a muffin in my mouth. Hi, my name is Sri Balasubramanian. I am an associate professor in the School of Biomedical Engineering, Science and Health Systems. I started at Drexel in 2010. I also do research on pediatric orthopedic deformities.
My name is Hisham. I'm in mechanical engineering. I'm associate teaching professor. I do research in tribology, friction, lubrication wear, and I also teach.
My name is Jennifer Atchison. I am an assistant teaching professor in mechanical engineering. I spent 6 years in Germany doing research in using electrospinning for biomedical applications. And I'm just coming back here to join the Drexel community.
Can I ask if people could say what, if not only the country, but if there was an institution that you were affiliated with?
Oh, sure. I was with the Leibniz Institute for New Materials.
Okay.
And while I was there, I worked with Suzanne Rocheleau and brought Drexel students over and sent students from the University of Saarland here to do research during the summer with the STAR program.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'm Amy Confer. I'm from the School of Public Health, mostly with the Urban Health Collaborative. I'm also in our Office of Research.
Hi, I'm Lonnie Phillip-Tab. I am a professor in the School of Public Health. I'm also an affiliate faculty member for the Urban Health Collaborative. And that was it, right?
That's okay. That's fine. Okay.
Hi, I'm Alondra Green, the Director of Faculty Development, Diversity, and Faculty Affairs, and you'll hear from me later on when I'm talking about some awards.
I'm Mimi Scheller, Professor in Sociology and Director of the Center for Mobilities Research and Policy. And I have connections with a lot of universities internationally and work specifically in the Caribbean doing research and in Europe.
I'm Liz Kimball. I'm an assistant professor in English. I just started, so I just came to find out what was happening.
Welcome.
Michelle Rogers. I'm in the College of Computing and Informatics. Looking to, done some work in Africa and looking to do more in the Caribbean and on this side of the globe.
My name is Jessica Ward. I'm the Director of Development in CASTLE, which is our STEM Education Center. I'm a grant writer and have managed a graduate fellowship program where we brought graduate students to Kenya to work with high schools in collaboration with high schools.
Sean O'Donnell. I'm a professor. I'm in the Biodiversity, Earth, and Environmental Science, worst name ever, department, which is the merger between Drexel and the Academy of Natural Sciences. I'm also faculty in the biology department. I'm a tropical ecologist and animal behaviorist, and I've been doing research in Latin America for pretty much my entire career, and have been pretty active in bringing Drexel undergrads and grad students down with me for research.
Hi, Roger Thomas. Again, I'm in the Peace Department, and I also work at the Academy of Natural Sciences. We're doing a lot of work in Chile, doing some watershed work, and lately trying to expand some of the work we're doing in Cuba.
Katie?
Hi, I'm Katie Goddard. I'm from the Department of Biology, also for a little bit for PEAS. I do research in Central Africa. I'm the director of the university program that's called the Biodiversity Protection Program. It's a research, education, and outreach organization. And I also run an associate program in Cameroon where we focus on chimpanzees and their conservation and evolution.
Hi, I'm Lotte Buiting. I'm a senior advisor in the Education Abroad Office.
I'm Dottie Australia. I'm Associate Vice Provost for Global Engagement and Director of the Abroad Office.
John Doherty, Sun Director Development Center, I'll talk about international co-op.
Sandra Petrie, Office of Global Engagement.
And thank you, Sandra, for putting this event together. I appreciate it. Suzanne, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Where do I find it?
You can just use this.
Just,
Mhm.
no. Oh, okay. Good morning. I'm Suzanne Rushel. I'm Director of the Office of Undergraduate Research and Associate Dean in the Honors College. And I have been privileged to run the STAR program since its inception in 2002. And I don't usually talk about STAR in an international setting, but a number of you are new. So I just want you to give a kind of brief overview. It is that STAR provides first-year students the opportunity to do faculty-mentored research, scholarship, or creative work in the summer between freshman and sophomore year. It was established, as I said, in 2002 to recruit high-ability students to Drexel. We've been very successful in that. And since the inception of the program, we've had more than 1,700 students participate in the program. And a number of them have gone on. The graduation rate is 96% to graduation, and about 80% go on to graduate school. And many of our fellowship winners have been former STAR or iSTAR students. iSTAR basically provides the STAR experience in an international setting. And this was started in 2012, 2013, when we sent 5 students to Germany as a result of a conversation Jenny Atchison and I had at a food truck, following her, getting her PhD and telling me that she was going on to Germany, and wouldn't it be interesting if we were able to send Drexel undergraduates to Germany, which we were able to do and were successful in for the next couple of years. Since then, we have established or increased the number of locations that we've had STAR scholars. Some of them are no longer active, and I'll kind of go into the reasons why. But this past year, we've had actually 25 students in international locations, where we sent students to 12 different sites. 14% of our 2017, 2018 STARs went to, as I said, international locations. The iSTAR locations we've used: Costa Rica with Sean O'Donnell, Germany with Jenny, Finland, which is a site that we're no longer using. Domestic sites, we've had a number of students work with faculty at external sites, for instance, Drexel in Los Angeles, which is a foreign location for Drexel students, but also we've had a couple of alumni, Drexel alumni, who have now offered to take students in their labs. We had a graduate in neuroscience take our students to Johns Hopkins the last couple of years, and I have a current request from a former alum who's working in pediatric neurology at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, who would like to bring students into his lab. And this is a way of really extending and growing our alumni network and the involvement in this work. We've sent students to India, thanks to Shri, which he'll talk about a little bit later, and to the University of Sussex in England, and to Africa in various locations through the Dornsife Global Scholars Program, to China, where we sent students in dance to Beijing, and this past summer to Cuba. For students, we hope that STAR and iSTAR are going to increase both their subject knowledge and their disciplines, and familiarity with research, and they certainly increase in their research skills, but we also want them to increase in their cultural awareness and global competencies. And particularly for STEM students, where it's quite difficult many times to incorporate a study abroad experience, iSTAR is an incredibly valuable experience. And the deliverables that are expected for all of our students are both an abstract, a poster, and they present at the STAR Summer Showcase, and we publish all of the student abstracts in a book that we distribute at the STAR Showcase and also publish online. For faculty, we think that there are a lot of benefits that have not generally been realized and that we really hope to capitalize on. That faculty can really increase their research collaborations, and for the university, it increases our own reputation as an institution. And again, for our global reputation in the world, and the opportunities for our students to present and to do co-op internationally and to attend international conferences. 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to take students to the first World Congress of Undergraduate Research in Qatar, where one of our students won first prize. And it was because he had done research starting basically in sophomore year or freshman year and had continued his research. So our goal, and I think the ideal for us in iSTAR, is to build a partnership on something that already exists. We're not trying to create something out of nothing. We are really trying to build on the partnerships that you already have with other institutions. And so when we have 4 different kinds of partnerships. The one that works best, in my estimation, is the site with current faculty collaborations. And that was in Germany, where we had faculty actively doing research. In Finland, where we had a partnership with electrical engineering and with the University of Oulu. And in India with Sri Balasubramanian, where we are currently working with IIT Madras, the Indian Institute of Technology Madras, and with SSN College of Engineering, both of which are in Chennai, India. We also have opportunities where our Drexel-based faculty lead international research opportunities, and that's with Sean O'Donnell, and I think he's going to talk a little bit about that later. In Costa Rica, in China, where we had dance faculty take students to China, to Cuba, where we have students in bees and I think public health doing work in Cuba currently, and in Senegambia, again through Drexel Global Scholars. Sites with current student university affiliations, and that's the Drexel Global Scholars Program in Africa, and sites with existing research programs, and these are less attractive to us, that take international students, and that would be currently the University of Sussex. And although it's a wonderful experience, the reason it's less attractive, quite frankly, is that it's much more expensive. We're able to do much more cost-effective work when we have our own faculty leading the students. For logistics, logistics tend to be a really important part of iSTAR. We really have to deal with safety concerns, considering travel warnings. This past year, we had a 2018 student who wanted to do research in Iraq. And she had family there, and had found a faculty who was going to work with her, but there was no way that we could, in all conscience, send a student to Iraq. And travel warnings pop up various times in various places, so this is something we really have to pay attention to. Also, in terms of selecting students, our students' comfort in international settings. What is their real understanding or awareness of what they will be, the conditions under which they're going to be living? It's 10 weeks away, or as much as 10 weeks away. Are they really going to be able to negotiate themselves in a local community? Are they, even if the research institution does work in English, the local community may be less accessible for non-native language speakers. Language requirements. Do they need some language proficiency? For the most part, students have not had language proficiency, but I remember when we were in Germany, students were taking German so that they could negotiate the local community a little better. Passports and visas. Visa requirements vary from country to country, and it takes a fair amount of time to get a visa in some countries, and so you have to start quite early. Last year, we had a faculty who wanted to take a student to Vietnam. There was unfortunately no way that we could negotiate the housing and the logistics and the visa requirements prior to them going. So you have to start much, much earlier in the year. And transportation and housing. This has to be negotiated and arranged for in advance. We just can't have students living in the community. Normally, we arrange for housing either with the faculty, for instance, in Costa Rica, or at the university where we have the partnerships. And again, this varies. In India, we have to travel to India to pay for the housing personally. We can't pay for it in advance. And that there are lots of different aspects of negotiating, I mean, the housing and the transportation and the food and everything else that goes on to being there. And pre-travel orientation, we work with study abroad so that our students, first of all, that they are logged into the university system, the insurance is carried by the university, and they are given pre-travel orientation so that they are well prepared for what they're going to experience. And we also work with them so that they know exactly what institution they're going to, the project that they're going to be working with, and what their how to manage their expectations with that. Any questions at this point? Hi, yes.
So how far in advance do you have to arrange this? I mean, for instance, if you have all of the logistical stuff worked out beforehand, is it possible to do, like, for instance, the next summer that's available to participate in the program?
Yeah. Well, it depends. I mean, for instance, in India right now, we have well-established partners at the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, and SSN. So we know that we can accept students for those institutions. We know where they're going to live, we know what the travel costs are going to be, etc. For instance, in your program, for instance, if you were able to make that available to us, I know that we've had other Drexel students there, so that you are well aware of what the travel requirements are. You can tell us what we need to do in advance in terms of getting students into your program. When we're establishing something newer, where you may have say you have a collaborative research project going on with an institution in Chile. We would need to contact that institution, find out, first of all, who is going to be the faculty partner? What is the project that the student is going to be working on? Is it a project that is challenging? Is it a project that a student can do? Is it a project that's going to fit into their curriculum? So when they come back, that they have something that they can build on or contribute to. Then where is is that faculty going to take some kind of responsibility for the students while they're there at that institution, if for instance there's a problem? Where's the student going to live? Is on-campus housing available? How much is it going to cost? What are the transportation costs? I mean, we work all of that out in advance. So yes, it's possible, but it does take time. Yeah.
From the student's perspective, does this cost anything, or
No. STAR
they
is
apply?
free.
So they apply.
Oh, yes,
is
it's
it
highly
very
competitive.
Okay.
STAR and iSTAR are highly competitive.
Okay.
We had, and STAR students are admitted in two phases. One is, we have students coming into the university as STAR scholars.
Right.
This year we have currently 82 freshman STARs.
Okay.
And we are opening up application at the end of December, that will close on February 4th. We normally get about 300 to 350 applications for what will probably be about 90 slots. And then we've got an extensive review process because we're looking at the students' academic records, we're looking at motivation, what do they hope to do, how is this going to fit into their curriculum, and who do they hope to work with? Yes?
So when you just said, who do they have to work with, how do you match students with potential faculty projects which may not exist yet?
It depends. For STAR students who are staying at the university, I call it the eHarmony of undergraduate research. We will suggest faculty for them to speak to, and it is their selection of a faculty mentor and the faculty mentor's selection of them, because we want, one of the goals of STAR is that the student should contribute in some way, shape, or form to the faculty mentor's research agenda. So the faculty has to have some confidence that this student is going to be capable of making a contribution in their laboratory.
Can I add one thing?
Yes,
to it,
certainly.
Suzanne? To that question, as a faculty, operationally, how I do it for biomed, somebody has to be a cheerleader for the unit here, as well as you need a cheerleader abroad, or even in any other institution that you collaborate with in the US or around Philadelphia. So what I do for biomed, let's say there are 15 biomed STAR scholars. I guess it'd be great if I can place all 15 of them in good labs. So I take it upon myself to send a template out. It's a one-slide template that I can share with you, with everybody, with Suzanne, can send it out. That literally says the scope of the project in just 2 sentences, skills required, contact person, email address. So the lab name and location. So I send it out to all biomed faculty and affiliated biomed faculty and collaborating labs with biomed. I get in maybe 15, 20 positions, and then we host a faculty, student, STAR scholar meet and greet event. It's a speed dating event, if you will. We maybe meet for 2 hours. We serve snacks or lunch or something like that. So the students, the STAR scholars that are selected show up, all the faculty show up, each of them get 2 minutes to present their slide, and then at the end of it, you see that, oh, these 2 students want to do that kind of research, and they kind of gravitate towards that faculty at the end of the session to meet with them. At the end of those 2 hours, everybody's found a spot. It's done. So operationally, that's very efficient. And you can also send these slides out to your international partner, and they fill that one slide, send it back to you, you can present it as the host here. They're not going to travel from India, of course. So I can show them, hey, this is the opportunity, this is what it will entail, and if you're interested, let us know.
Right.
And this happens in March.
Sean?
So in my case, I think really most years, it's been me loading similar information really, but materials up on the general undergrad research website, and then just flagging some of the projects as being STAR student friendly or available to STAR students. And then almost all of them have found me through that pathway. And one of the things that's been really absolutely wonderful about it is I would say probably the majority of my STAR students over the years have not been in my major. I've had a real diversity, some of them have, but I've had a real diversity of majors come and work with me, and they've worked out really, really well. So the undergrad research website, Gateway, I think has been very effective for tracking students.
Yeah, I agree too. In our case, taking iSTAR students to Cuba, we really had a lot of success knowing some of the students before they actually came. In one instance, we run this DESLA program, the Drexel Environmental Science Leadership Academy, for high school students in the summer, and one of the iSTAR students was in attendance there. So, and as Sean said, we've gotten bio students, and we've also got environmental engineering students. So if you broadcast it widely enough, you get some incredibly talented individuals.
I think that's one of the real strengths of the STAR program is that we do not require students to do a research project in their major. We do require that they have had the fundamental courses to be able to do research in whatever project they choose. with whatever faculty, but that's the assessment of the faculty as well. For Sean to be able to say to an environmental science student, yes, you've done enough, that I think you could make a contribution to this field. So it's been very, very interesting. For the students, it's an opportunity for them sometimes to really explore, major maybe a little bit outside of what they'd originally come into Drexel for, and to help us retain those students as opposed to losing them as transfer students. But in other ways, it's been a fabulous way for students to really confirm what their real passions are. Jenny.
So, everybody's been talking heavily about the research part of this, which of course is incredibly important and why the students are here. But when I was running the iSTAR program in Germany, I made sure that I also programmed in a lot of field trips and travel. At least for the first group and a lot for the second, I went with them. Like, we went to Lucerne, we went to Lyon, France, we went to Paris, we went to, you know, and we just sort of, it wasn't like a high school thing. I went with them just to make sure that I could face their parents if I lost them. Otherwise, I mean, I think that was a really important part of it too, because it really informed, I think, their opinions and gave that cultural aspect that you don't get if you're just staying at the dormitory and going to the university or institution. You know, I really wanted them to go out, and I took them out for dinner for couscous in Paris, and I took them out for, you know, dibble dabbles which is a Sarlandish food.
So how was all that funded?
So the students had their own stipend as part of the iSTAR program, and there was a little bit of funds. The thing is, at least in Europe, once you're there, getting around is super easy and super cheap. And I'm not kidding, we stayed in hostels, you know. Bunks, you know, here we go, we got a room with, you know, 10 beds in it, and we all just, you know, hung out there because it was only $13 a person, as opposed to going, you know, to a hotel and booking, you know. So, and I think that was a real eye-opener too, because I think at first there was a lot of like, oh, well, I need. I'm like, this is it. You're in Europe. Like, suck up, get in the top bunk, and we're going.
Right. Somebody was asking me before about the cost of STAR and iSTAR, and what we pay for all STAR scholars, we pay the students a stipend of $3,500 for the summer, and they get free on-campus housing. They do not get meals. For iSTAR students, we pay the round-trip transportation to and from the research site. If they're not gone for the entire summer, we will pay the remainder of their costs of their housing here on campus. So if they go 6 weeks to Costa Rica, we would pay for 4 weeks on campus. And in addition, they get a stipend. It's a slightly lower stipend of $3,000, but that usually gives them a fair amount of money to spend. In India, they live like kings.
Absolutely.
And that has really gone a long way. We really encourage them to travel and to take advantage. I mean, we want them to gain global competence and cultural awareness. So while we're there, and we're usually there for about a week, at the beginning of the summer, we will take them on a couple of cultural trips to get them used to the environment, the food, the language, etc., and then encourage them to travel in groups, usually at the beginning, or with local people. Last year, some of the students who were at SSN got to go to a cultural festival at the south of India. I think it was Holi.
It was another.
Yeah, but I mean, they did this on their own. They traveled bus transportation, and they had a wonderful time. And they came back. They were very, very enthusiastic about the entire experience. So when they come back, they really are attached to Drexel. They love having had this opportunity.
Does it have to be in summer?
Yes. It has to be in summer because it is the only time that our students generally have off. They don't have, and we're not paying the institutions to do this, by the way.
Even for engineering students when they have co-ops and stuff?
Yep, this is before co-op.
Oh, before co-op. Okay.
This is before co-op, and in fact, it helps students to get fabulous co-ops, but it's not something we advertise. In fact, we actively discourage students from coming into the program thinking that they're going to get a great co-op as a result.
Actually, that's a good point of moving on to talking about international co-op. So, a lot of our questions more for Suzanne later, and then John, if you want to
right, I was gonna ask, I mean, if one of the things I wanted Shri and Sean to talk about is the advantages for faculty to participate. Because I think that as a result of iSTAR, Drexel is able to do, or faculty are able to do other kinds of things in terms of teaching or research, whatever.
Adam, what do you prefer?
Yeah, we'll have, let's go through the speakers first, and then we're gonna have Shri and Sean.
Okay, that's
good.
fine.
Just to make sure we get all the content out. And then we'll have that kind of discussion. I did think that was a really good transition, planned or not. All right, so. Good morning, John Doherty, Steinbrück Career Development Center. Hopefully you have seen this. It's been around for a while. We like it. We like it a lot. Students get it. They get it consistently. Maybe 200, 225 students go away every year for their international co-op. That's 3 months or 6 months throughout the 2 co-op cycles, also including summer only. One thing I didn't include, but I did want to mention, I hope you all did see and read the faculty announcement, or I should say the announcement to faculty, about the research funding that our office does provide to students for their 6-month co-op. It is matching, I think it's about $7,500 from our office, and then $7,500 matching from you, your grants, your departments. Those research calls go out in the early part of October for the spring. They go out in the early part of April for the fall-winter, since we're operating 6 months in advance of each 6-month co-op cycle. On average, we'll fund 15 or so of those projects annually. Some of those I hope will be internationally after this. I think the best model, of course, is in those collaborations. But how we've gotten students to go away through the years, it has varied. I'm really happy to say that a lot of these student experiences at this point have been done through employers, private employers, corporate partners that we've had employ students here, now overseas, and an expanding number of research collaborations, sometimes that students find on their own, sometimes through departments and connections here. But that is a number that stayed pretty consistently. The challenge in getting our students to go away for co-op is that this is a great economy to be in Philadelphia. So for the most part, we're trying to convince students to do something that is likely going to be in a foreign place, that's challenging for all of the opportunities that co-op is, plus the cultural aspects of that. That's actually the biggest learning part that most students come back and tell me about, is that they have learned how to be. It's not just what they did, and they do some amazing things, including this, which I realize is really text heavy, but you can see the various locations, lots of Germany, cross disciplines. This is not everything that happened last year for research. These are just the very easily identifiable ones. Some students really do some amazing research that they can't do here. Sometimes it is building on research that they've done here and doing that elsewhere. So it's really an opportunity for them to experience research culture in another place, which if you'll notice, the materials students who are in South Korea, that was one huge learning opportunity for them. They got to do some really cool cutting edge research on tiny things in the nanomaterials lab from here at Drexel to over in South Korea. But what they learned about, more so than those tiny, very cool little things that are very much a part of what we do these days, they learned that research is done very differently in South Korea. There's very different hierarchy. There's very different procedure. And that was a huge challenge for some of those students, but a great experience. So we, if you recall here, you'll notice that the amount of countries that we've had students in has gone down over the past couple of years. That was by design. That was my design. I take full ownership of that. We are having much more intentional, cohorted experiences for international co-op. These are funded experiences for the most part. Fully funded, in our view, is at least $6,000 for their 6-month co-op. So $1,000 a month is what we're aiming to do. Our budget has remained flat or consistent over the past couple of years. I have a budget of about $700,000 for students to do their co-ops internationally. I would love to, share that more broadly. Just need more money to do so.
but we've been trying to have the cohorted full student experience so that we have clusters of students going to certain geographic locations. Now to speed ahead to where I was. Some of those locations now are new to us as of earlier this month. Students were applying to opportunities in the Mamoni Valley in Panama. That was made through a connection, through a student who went there on her own, through the bees department. She came back, she said it was great. I talked with the contact there a couple of times. David Valinsky was really helpful in talking with him as well. So we have, I think, 5 opportunities really across all, or a lot of Drexel disciplines and interests at this point. So we're hopeful to have a cohort on the ground there in Panama this coming April. I would like to have deeper experiences and opportunities. I think one analogy I would say is that we were thinly coating the globe with different Drexel Co-op students and experiences in different locations. I would like to very much more have solid opportunities for students that are rather consistent so that Drexel Co-op in Singapore, which has really taken off for us and that employs students across all 80 undergraduate majors, and we might have 20 to 25 students there annually, that's actually become a thing. So students know somebody who might have done that and said, oh, you did it, I can do it too. So we're always looking for new opportunities, new locations. Some of those I'm working towards based on student interest. Really open to your opportunities as well. So I had already mentioned this a little bit. So the materials department, Yuri Gogotsi and Danielle Kopiko were really instrumental in developing this collaboration that had been at the graduate level and brought down to the undergraduate level just this past spring and summer. So they have a new cohort to consider for this upcoming spring and summer. We had 4 students. Most of them materials engineers go to 2 different locations in South Korea. This year it should be 3. And it was really just what a really helpful and effective use of institutional knowledge and collaboration can do. So I would love to try this more for you or your department. And then individually, again, bringing up the bees department, we had a student go and do some research. I'm sorry, what is bees?
Biodiversity, earth, and environmental science.
Yeah, and is it
stick with
bees?
Bees.
Yes. So she did some tremendous research on giant pandas, found that opportunity through her professors and her contacts. This was something I knew about in September as she was working her way to get there in April. She was funded from the Drexel Fellowships Department in helping her get connected to tremendous research funding. We provided her some research funding from the Freeman Foundation, from other resources. And then she traveled from China, I believe, to a presentation in Arizona over the summer, and also joined another one of our students who was also in biology, I believe, but she had been doing research in Germany to get to present at that conference. Conference's name escapes me. But so this is an opportunity of making that connection for a student that really tremendously, professionally and personally, life-changing for her. So what can you do? Talk with your students, engage them, direct them to opportunities that might be specific to your field or to your interests. One of the things on my list this year is really tremendously trying to focus on adjusting the balance of students that we, Drexel, in the College of Engineering, College of Computing, Biomedical, send to Germany through the 7 universities of applied sciences. On average, we've had 4 to 6 students there every year. These are competitive research experiences for them. Again, very tremendously focused on technical fields and technical disciplines, but hopefully the College of Engineering, Computing, Biomed folks are able to connect their students to these. This didn't show up too well, but the students can schedule their time, hopefully, to go through this process. It doesn't fully line up, like many things here at Drexel, with our schedules in terms of when they should be thinking and applying for this. Applications were due October 1st for this upcoming April. We have 1 student going this year for a UAS 7 opportunity, so I'm pretty excited about that. Last year we had close to 7, I think it was. So this is just one opportunity, I'm sure, but hopefully you are the subject matter and can connect your subject matter expert and can connect your students. So I would like to address that imbalance. We've had many of our students go there, a handful come here. It's not for a total lack of opportunities on Drexel's side, but I think it's something that we need to focus on more for UAS7 particularly. We have some research opportunities in Berlin. We had 2 students go last spring and summer, 2 more hopefully to go this coming spring and summer. I'm looking for a landing spot in Lebeau. I didn't hear anybody in Lebeau here today, for 2 or so of their students to come here and conduct some research, particularly as it relates to business or the culture of business. Obviously, Germany has been a great partner for us because co-op's part of their model, but I know that all over the world, and particularly also here in the US, there's a greater focus on experiential education. So yay, that's us, that's Drexel's golden egg. So how can we take advantage of that? How have you benefited from this personally? Talking with your students about that. Antonis Konsos was somebody who joined me for a great lunch with the DAAD, the German Academic Exchange group that was here in the summer for NAFSA. And he's just a personal proponent of this because that has personally benefited him, and he tries to direct his students that way too. I was fully expecting to see him here today. So, long view. Suzanne, I appreciate you bringing that up. Logistics, understanding that you can't just hop on a plane and go there. And those vary for our students. A kid from South Philadelphia has a very different path to get to Germany, for example, than a student from South Africa. So understanding those logistics and understanding that it takes time to work through those, and sometimes there are hiccups. So we can help in some ways. I lean on study abroad a little bit, lean on fellowships as well, sometimes call the consulates myself to try to make that happen. But understanding that hiring somebody or getting somebody to a job does take those administrative components, so lean on your HR liaisons here in the university if you're hiring somebody in your department who's going to work here for 3 months and maybe work elsewhere for another 3 months, which I think is the best model for this. And that's a little bit of what the materials department did with that collaboration in South Korea. So who in the world am I? That's me. Please let me know what you have, perhaps in terms of your relationships and opportunities in mind. I would welcome talking through those and seeing how we can connect those to our students. You know, again, with the long view, but sometimes things can happen really quickly too. So try to talk quickly through that. I would love to hear your questions, but in the interest of getting everybody's presentations out there first, I'm glad to welcome those at the end. So thanks.
And Dana D'Angelo from LeBeau is on YouTube. John said she wanted to let you know that there are some at LeBeau that are just streaming. So. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, all right. So we're going to talk just a little bit about developing your research into virtual mobility opportunities and other mobility opportunities. So you might be aware of our Global Classroom program. This is where you're developing a course or enhancing a currently existing course with one of your research partners who's teaching a similar course abroad, and you're having your students involved in interactive projects virtually. So this is a very successful program that we've run the past 5 years now. And so this is just a small way of thinking about, I'm doing research with my partner, and this is a great way to involve your students without necessarily leaving the country, but still involving different intercultural and cross-cultural communication skills and perspectives outside the discipline. With the first time you do develop and teach one, you do get a $750 professional development stipend, so I like to highlight that because that can obviously be used towards your other research goals.
Great. And so I'm from the Ed Abroad office. There's different ways that you can collaborate internationally for study abroad. So the first, there's many different ways, but I'm going to highlight 2 today. Are the intensive courses abroad, or they usually go by our favorite acronym, ICA. If I use too many acronyms, do let me know. We love our acronyms. They are faculty-led intensive explorations of topics. So basically, for undergraduates, they happen during the break periods. Summer break, spring break, we have them all year round. Faculty members will take a group of students abroad for a course. It's a specific course. It has its own syllabus that you design specifically for the ICA. And they can vary in how many credits. They can be, usually they're between 1 to 4 credits. And this is kind of the distinction, so they are credit bearing, as I mentioned. We offer them for undergraduate and for graduate level as well. They involve kind of different considerations. I'm the contact person for grad, so if you're interested, please do reach out to me. I'm happy to talk you through this in much more detail. Heise Schreffler, Director of Programs in Ed Abroad, she is the contact person for undergraduate ICAs. So basically, why we love our ICAs is there are many different reasons, but they are an academic framework for experiential learning for students, right? Because they are so intensely designed that we feel like they have a really high impact on the students. Because you think about everything, most of our ICAs, I mean, they differ a little bit on how the itineraries are set up, but they are packed from usually like 8 in the morning until dinner time with activities that have been designed specifically for the purpose of exploring the academic topic that's, you know, that's the topic of the course. That doesn't mean that there aren't any, and I appreciate the point that was brought up earlier about taking your students out, doing extracurricular activities. Obviously that's happening, you know, all throughout the globe, because otherwise why would you take students to a different location if you're just lecturing them, right? You could do that here. But all these different things that we're doing abroad, they're all in light of having them learn more about the specific topics, about making them more culturally aware, about developing intercultural competencies and things like that. And so it's a great way for students. If you have a student who has a very tight academic schedule, ICAs they can fit in because they happen during a break period. So even if they have extremely sequenced coursework, they will be able to do an ICA. It's also for students who maybe a little bit more hesitant. They don't know yet. They're not ready to fully commit to a full term abroad. ICA is a perfect first way to kind of try it out, dip their toe in, and they will be ready to jump when they get back. We've seen it happen a lot. It often leads to additional international pursuits, both for the students and for the faculty. We've had some wonderful examples of faculty members who have developed ICAs, and as a result of those, have developed a whole new line of research, publications, international collaborations. So that's another really wonderful thing for you as faculty members to kind of think about exploring. We, as I mentioned, new research collaborations, publications. We do offer a $1,000 faculty stipend because, again, timelines for ICAs, they're at least 12 months, and so we recognize this is a lot of work for everyone involved, and so that's kind of a small way of saying thank you. Love to give you more, but, you know, funds. We also have a $1,000 grant for new ICAs that goes towards lowering the student fee, right? So basically we'll work with you on a budget. Based on the budget, we determine how much each student will be paying to be able to go on this trip. Again, if you would like more information, please do reach out and we can talk about this more. Then we also have our international experiences or non-credit bearing education abroad. iSTAR is a perfect example. iSTAR is what we call an international experience. Students go abroad, but they don't receive academic credit, right? Which is not to say it's not an academic experience, they just don't receive, you know, actual credits on their transcripts. So there can be many different ways. iSTAR is a perfect example, international research. International experience is also for graduate students, so it could be your graduate students doing international research, it could be an international conference, a workshop, really anything that's Drexel related, but that is not for credit. That would be an international experience. I'm trying to think. Student organizations that will go abroad, do volunteer work, that will be an international experience as well. If you are a faculty member, you're thinking about ICA, and you're like, well, that does sound like a lot of work. I don't know if I'm ready to take it on. I don't blame you. IE is a perfect way to kind of explore. Is it viable or not? Can I do this? For an IE, you would basically go, you don't develop your syllabus, you can take maybe 2 or 3 students rather than 10 that you usually 8 to 10 is sort of a typical number of students that will go on an ICA. That's a lot more work. So if you're like, okay, we'll start with just a few, we can explore, we can, you know, look at all the different sites, we can try a few lectures, further develop these relationships with my contacts that I have locally, and then if it all works, then you've done a lot of the groundwork already to then develop it further into an ICA. So I think that's also really kind of a wonderful way. Yes?
Can I just ask, so I'm really intrigued by that model, especially using it as a way of possibly exploring,
Yep.
you know, kind of a pilot trip, right, for a new ICA.
Mm-hmm.
Is there funding available to help make international experiences happen?
Yes.
If students are going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. in OGE we have international experience funding, and so that could both be for the faculty who is taking the students as well as for the students themselves.
What's OGE?
Oh, sorry, the Office of Global Engagement. So us, sort of the over, Adam, Sandra, Dani, and then Ed Abroad as well.
And we'll talk about this funding on the next slide, actually.
Yeah. Right, cool.
Thanks, Lota.
Thank you. Can I ask one question about the ICAs?
Absolutely.
Does the ICA run as a special topics, or does it need SCAA approval?
It can run as a special topics. A lot of them are.
Okay.
So yeah, they don't need a special approval. Some of them, and there's different models. So some ICAs will be sort of an add-on to an existing course. So students enrolled in a course then can go for an extra 1 credit, for example. This is a model that graduate programs will often use. They have a course, it may be taught online, and then there's an optional trip at the end that you can take for 1 additional credit. It could be a required part of the class. It could be a standalone open to all majors for undergraduate ICAs. Most of them will be open to all majors. Some of them are very specific.
So the students,
sorry. Yeah, no, go
so
ahead.
the students pay for the 1 credit or 2 credits that the ICA course is, and then additionally they have to come up with the money for the travel?
Yeah, so if they're undergraduate students, the credits, if you're going during fall break, the 2 credits will go towards their fall term. So they do have to make sure that if they don't sign up for more than 20 credits total, right? Because otherwise, if they take 18 credits during the fall term regular here on campus, and they get 3 credits for their fall break ICA, they'll be taking 21 credits total. Yes, we do have students who do this. And then they'd be billed for the additional credits. So when we talk to our students, we always make sure that they're very aware and that whenever possible they don't do that so they wouldn't be billed for the additional credits.
But they have to come up with the money for the
They
travel.
would have to, exactly, they would have to come up with the program fee, which will typically cover lodging, meals,
How much
all
is that?
entrance fees. It ranges, it depends on how much funding departments can provide to help lower the program fee. It ranges from anywhere between 500 to 1,800. The length, the length of the program will depend a lot. It could be 7 days. The longest ones are 2 weeks. So there's a lot of variables. But yeah, Katie, you had a question.
Just, so if you have an ICA,
Mm-hmm.
can students on an ICA also be iSTAR students? So, I mean, like, is there interaction across those programs? Because if you have an intensive course abroad, they probably focus on a certain, right?
I mean, if they're iSTAR students, during summer, they will only be working on their iSTAR projects. They could be iSTAR students for the summer and then go on a winter break, ICA, for example. But they can't be iSTAR, no, because iSTAR is a full-term commitment, and so they are working on that all the time. So they couldn't be doing an iSTAR and then also
And
doing
there's
ICA.
also the challenge that if you are telling students this is something worthy of credit, the flip side is you can't tell students it's not worthy of credit, right? You have to make sure you have your academic integrity. Think about your on-campus classes. Do you let people just sit in on your class? It's either a credit-bearing opportunity or it's not a credit-bearing opportunity. Both should be very, very different, right?
Oh no, I thought what you meant is they're doing their iSTAR in Chennai, India, and then they'll go on an ICA to the UK. Well, both cases, the answer would be no. Like, if they're doing their iSTAR in India, then that's what they're working on. And like Donnie was saying, you can't have it both be for credit and not for credit. So I guess no
Right,
is
and
the
you wouldn't
answer.
do it on campus, so
Right.
remember, it's just a different location, but we don't let students sit in on credit-bearing.
And this is actually a good question, and I think this is something that you just brought up. Like, well, what if I have a student who really wants to take my ICA for fall, like a fall break ICA, but they have to sign up for 20 credits for their fall term because that's, their sequencing, they have to take this. Can they just come on my ICA? They've promised me they'll do all the work. I trust them, I know this student. And the answer is no, unfortunately. And again, this is for academic integrity. We can't have 8 students in the program who are taking the class for credit, and then 1 student who will just audit your class, which is really just a Drexel rule in general. Like, we're not allowed to have students audit a class, and for that reason, we can also not allow students to, quote-unquote, audit your ICA, which is kind of a weird concept. But, I mean, it has come up, and I understand why you would want your students to be able to do that. You're like, I know the students are great. Unfortunately, we can't do that. Yeah?
Some of the opportunities that we see in South America and down at the tropics would be best if the students were there during the summer. Can you use ICA funding during the summer? Or is it constrained to the break period?
No, you could develop an ICA at any time, really, especially for graduate. We've had ICAs run that are not during the break periods. You're thinking mostly for, the only issue with that, if you were to schedule an ICA, say during the middle of summer, really the only students who would be able to go would be freshmen who are between their freshman and sophomore year, because everyone else is either in class or in co-op. And so that's kind of the challenge.
Well, I mean, to that
doing it
point,
that way.
it's been our experience that most of the co-ops and the employers that we see for a 1 week period like this would provide,
Yeah.
a break for the students to take advantage of these kind of opportunities. So I give that a lot, that co-op, it constrains it, but in reality it doesn't.
No, and that depends a lot on the co-op employer and where the student is working. If that's a possibility, that's great. It also works out academically because students on co-op are allowed to take, I believe it's up to 4 credits during the time that they're on co-op. So if they can make it work. What we've noticed though is that students are a little bit resistant. They don't like asking for that. In Edinburgh, we get a lot of students who have to maybe start their co-op a little late, end their co-op early because you guessed it, the Drexel calendar, to be able to make study abroad work, we have to kind of shift around a little bit. They sometimes don't like to ask for that because they think that will make them look like lesser candidates in eyes of their co-op employer. But you're absolutely right, it is a possibility, and a lot of co-op employers I think would be happy to just provide their students with that.
I was also going to say, timing, I think, is really important. iSTAR, for instance, a STAR would end around August 28th. So if you want to fit something in during the first 2 weeks of September, that might fit perfectly with a student who had just completed STAR.
Well, yeah, and that would be will be the summer break, and
Yeah.
so that would be going back to break, which is also why we have, especially for undergrads, we're trying a little bit for grad as well. We have them during the break periods, and that's also to make sure that most students can take take advantage of these opportunities. Sorry.
What's the typical duration of international experience? 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
And that will depend a lot. So I have international experience for graduate students. It could be 7 months because they're in Germany for 7 months doing research. It could be as little as 4 days if they're just going to Canada for a conference and they're coming right back. So yeah, there's
If you're going to send somebody to a lab, he cannot do meaningful work in a couple of weeks until he just knows where the bathroom is and where he's living.
Right. No, and we even have some international experience in our system for a year. For example, if a student gets the DAAD scholarship, if they get a Fulbright scholarship, for example, they are sometimes gone for an entire year, and they're still, we still register them. We register all student travel that includes graduate students who are going on international conferences, international research, like everything, field work, you name it.
Thank you. I want to move into our funding program so we can get to our faculty testimonials.
Yeah, a little bit.
So real quick, we have 2 rolling funding programs out of Office of Global Engagement. One's the International Travel Award, which many of you have taken advantage of. The other is for international experiences. So the International Travel Award is just for faculty and graduate students, and it's to present at an international conference. It is a competitive award. We do have a committee that reviews them during our different cycles. But again, the consideration here is how are you promoting international conference presentation to your graduate students? You might not know there's opportunities for funding. Now you do if you didn't. So definitely something to keep in mind when you're mentoring graduate students, for them to think about applying for this award to present at an international conference or for yourself as well. And then our international experience funding is funding for international experiences. And this is open to everyone, undergrads, grads, faculty, and staff even. So examples of those experiences might be international research, international service, visits to our partner institutions, or partnership development. So for those of you who are thinking, I want to develop something, but I need to really sit down, do a site visit to the institution that I'm working with, meet with my partner, you'd be able to apply for a grant for that program. They typically range from about $500 to $1,500 on international experiences. The International Travel Award for grad students, the maximum is $750, and for faculty it's $1,000. So considerations for international experience funding might be, are there opportunities to bring undergraduate and graduate students with you for research explorations, for your partnership development, et cetera. And then we do have our Stein Family Foundation Award. So the purpose of this fellowship is to provide scholarship, fellowship stipends, subsidies, et cetera, for career development, research, and mobility with institutions in Israel. So this is specifically for institutions in Israel. So just something to think about. That call usually goes out in the spring. The maximum award is $20,000. Sean is a winner of our past Stein Fellowship this past year. So if you're someone who's interested in developing a Stein Family Foundation proposal, one thing you might consider in your proposal is, can I include graduate students or undergraduate students, again, in my research to take to Israel? So just something to think about. That call will be up sometime in May. Alonda, do you want to speak real quickly, and then we'll move on to our faculty testimonials?
Perfect.
Yes.
Am I the only one who feels like it's second Monday? Second Monday. Oh, my clicker. Okay, great. So I think it's on here. So again, I'm Alonda Green. I'm the Director of Faculty Development and Diversity, and I'm just going to give a really quick spiel, and it's my opportunity to try to talk about some awards. It doesn't really have a big focus on global. However, I think it's important when I get a group of faculty together to kind of dump this information on you guys anytime I can. Let me find it. It's on the desktop, maybe? Let's see. I have something here somewhere. Oh, third time's charm. Okay. So, from the Office of Faculty Affairs, we support faculty throughout the professional life cycle. That is a kind of new thing that we've been doing for the past 3 years. When we got our new provost, he kind of changed the scope of our office. So I like to say that we're kind of recruitment all the way through to retirement. So anything that you need, hopefully, if we can't do it, we can get you to the folks who can. We work on attracting, retaining, recruitment, developing, promoting, and supporting faculty. That's all in our office. And we generally partner with faculty department heads, deans, and other faculty on a number of these different things, as well as different offices like global engagement on different awards and getting that information out. Here's my team. We have Erin McNamara Horvath. She is the Senior Vice Provost of Faculty Affairs. My colleague Antonis Asprakis is the Director of Policy and Operations. So any tenure, promotion, it's kind of his deal, in all new and existing policies and operations he does. Again, I do faculty development and diversity, and we have a lovely executive assistant, Linda, who is a very welcomed addition. So, we coordinate endeavors across the university, as I mentioned, to retain, develop faculty, support them. I'm not going to pull this up because I think I want to make sure that we're not pressed for time. However, our goal to support as many faculty as possible. When we say support, I'm specifically referencing awards as they relate to funding. We run a large number of faculty awards through our office, focusing on new faculty or junior faculty, pre-tenure faculty, all the way up that we have a new faculty provost fellow who's working on programming for mid-career faculty. So we're really trying to close the loop on having something really that's able to support faculty at all different ranks. So very easily, if you go to the Drexel Faculty Affairs website and you click on development somewhere in there, that banner, you'll get to a list of about 15 different faculty awards. 2 are annual awards. We just closed our adjunct faculty award and our teaching and learning faculty award. Those awards are quarterly. We close at the end of October, and I think the next due date is January. You can just apply. It's $1,000. So if you've been accepted to present a paper, to do a talk, anything of that nature, at a conference, even as an adjunct, you can apply for those awards. We encourage everyone to apply for them. We very, very rarely give all the money out because people don't apply. So, yeah, everyone's like, wait, what? Money?
But you have restrictions on that. I tried that one time, and then if you are a teaching faculty doing research, you have no place in this.
Tell me why. How?
Because if you go on for a conference that is a research paper and you are a teaching faculty, you have to go to a conference that is a teaching conference. I tried this twice and...
So, yes, so the teaching and learning, and I'm having some conversations with that. I think that we should broaden that a little bit more, so that it's not just teaching and learning focused. But there's past precedent as to why there weren't any of those awards, and then because of funding, it was a stipulation that it had to be support for a teaching and learning activity. I tend to be pretty flexible though, so you should try to apply again.
Did you submit the application, or did you just not do it because it didn't look like it fit?
I said, no, you have to be teaching, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to a conference to tell me how to teach after 30 years.
No, well, so I think, yeah, so I definitely encourage you to apply. I usually reach out to folks. It is a teaching and learning focus, but the whole conference doesn't have to be teaching and learning. So say that you're working on a specific, or you don't have to be learning yourself. You can be teaching someone else. You can be teaching about pedagogy. You can be, I'm sending someone to a construction, he applied
So I have to
this
tweak
term.
my language to
I'm not
make
saying you
it
to tweak your language, but in that information that says what is this about, you can be very clear what that is about. Again, I'm sending a faculty member to a construction conference soon. He just won in October, and it's not a teaching and learning conference, but he did a very good job of explaining how he's teaching some sort of something. I don't work in construction, but that was the goal of it, right? So it doesn't have to be, like learning, higher education, that type of focus, but he's teaching a practice or something in there. So I encourage you to apply or reach out to me directly, we can chat. It's called the Teaching and Learning Faculty Awards. Again, they're quarterly. We also have our adjunct faculty awards that are also quarterly. This time we're doing 5 teaching and learning awards and 3, I believe, adjunct awards. We had an adjunct apply for the teaching and learning award, and I wanted to try to get as many people covered as possible, so I gave her an adjunct award and opened up a slot for a teaching and learning person. Preference is given to those who are first-time applicants or first-time awardees, so sometimes I do have to deny folks because of the funding if they've already gotten the reward. Specifically this award, I don't hold it against you if you've gotten other awards. We encourage you, if you've gotten additional funding somewhere else and you would like to apply, we'd like to see that. You usually have to incorporate your dean or your department head's, letter of support, just talking about it. And you just have to prove to us that you have been accepted at a event. Also, it's not given ad hoc. You have to apply within the timeframes that we've given you, and it's not for events that have already happened and occurred. We have a couple people who applied, and maybe it kind of already happened, and they kind of want to get their money back. So it's not that. So I encourage you to think ahead. If you get accepted to a conference and it's not until spring, apply early. Because what might happen is you may not make it in the first round, but if you reapply and I see that you've come back, then I might be able to say, let's make sure that we get you back. So if you go to the Faculty Affairs website, look under development, you'll see those, and you'll also be able to see all of the application dates. It is a rolling application, right? So you can apply any point in time, it's always open, but they were reviewed and the deadline for those reviews are very clear, right? So I believe the next one is January, I believe. You're also going to see a number of other awards on there, and hopefully this week you're going to get in your emails a very long message that talks about all of the annual awards that we're going to be running, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. I want to take a brief moment to talk about the Limbach Distinguished Teaching Award. Who here has not heard of that award? Okay, good. I'm getting the word out. Wonderful. So the Limbach Distinguished Teaching Award is an award that's given to by the Christian R. Mary F. long name Limbach Foundation. They give a subset of money to support the award to colleges and universities, primarily in the greater Delaware Valley area. The stipend for each award is $4,000. So I'm warning you, it's a nice amount of packaging, right? So you have to include some letters from students. You have to include, some paperwork kind of backing up your teaching experiences and some letters of recommendation. But it's $4,000. That is something that is supported and then given out at the end of the year at our faculty recognition dinner, which is a really nice event. If you haven't been, you're encouraged to come, even if you're not an awardee. But this is a really good award. Last year we had one applicant, just one. And so we really want to try to improve that. We've been in conversation and we're trying to do everything that we can to get this information out and really get folks to apply. We're hoping to continue to have funding to support 2 applicants. So we're encouraging you to fill out that application, take a look at it. Again, an announcement is going to go out listing all of this stuff. There are going to be links that are going to take you to the Info Ready portal. Don't be afraid of the portal. It works very, very easily. You log in with your Drexel One credentials, And all of the awards, not just from Faculty Affairs, but the Office of Research across the university, are all available. So it's a good a good resource for you to be aware of as well, just because it lists any of the happenings that are available for you to apply for.
So have any of our faculty been awarded this? You said one last year.
Yes, one last year, but this is an annual award that we run every single year.
Oh, okay.
The foundation gives us money to support this award, and we really want to try to beef up the applications and increase the pool.
Did the faculty get it? Of course. That's pretty cool.
I mean, it was a great application. I mean,
Sure.
you know what I mean, but we want to continue to increase that, yeah.
Is it just funds so that you can use for whatever you want, or do you have to develop a teaching paradigm?
Whatever you want.
It's just
$4,000.
What are you trying to say?
Whatever you would need. Well, then in addition to the check for $4,000, you get recognized at the faculty recognition dinner. You do get like a nice plaque of some sort. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
What was that portal you said? There was a portal that we had?
Oh, it's called InfoReady. I can probably give it to you. It's like InfoReady for Drexel. It's like all weird. But if you go to the Faculty Affairs website under Development and click on one of the awards, it'll take you there. I don't know the URL exactly, but there's a number of those. So we really would like for you to apply. Encourage your faculty to apply. Again, there's going to be an announcement that's going to go out. It's going to include this and all of the other awards. We're also going to be running 2 new awards through the Office of Duo online. Okay, so and we want to increase our application pool and offer application support. We have a previous awardee who is donating his time so that if you have any questions about how to make your application process package the best it can be, that we have someone that you can talk to about that. Okay. Again, talking about the annual teaching service scholarship and professional service. It's a really long title. It's going to be a lot of information, but these are awards that are for full-time, part-time, tenured track, research, clinical. There are awards for everybody, for individuals that qualify, and I guarantee you will qualify for at least several. When that announcement goes out, again, hopefully this week, there's a little link on there that you can click to attend our information session, which is going to be on Thursday, December 13th from 1 to 2:30. We are going to go ahead and try to stream that so folks can log into that as well. The purpose for that is to walk you through how to apply, what the InfoReady portal kind of looks like, just to kind of get you up to date and ready to submit your application. You will not be able to apply to any of these awards until about December 10th, but you can pull up the portal and look and see what the criteria are, find out what all you have to do to submit that information. So it's actually going to be in this room on December 13th at 1 o'clock if you have questions. Very, very quickly, we also offer awards for junior or pre-tenured faculty. They're called the Career Development Awards. These are my favorite awards that we run. I think it's $6,500. We've kind of varied, but I think we're at $6,000. We've given out 6 last year. So $6,000 for a pre-tenured faculty member to create a mentor relationship, preferably with somebody outside of the institution. It can be local, it can be international, but you create a project of sort with a mentor, somebody senior to you as a junior faculty member, and work with them for 1 academic year. And it allows you to get that money, create that network, and create the partnership. We have a lot of really good return on investment of this, and it continues to be a really popular award. So if anybody in your department is a junior faculty or a pre-tenured newer faculty member, just mention this. Again, another announcement, right? I think I'm gonna wait until after Thanksgiving on this one, but you'll see an email that'll come out specifically about the Career Development Awards. Same deal, we'll have an info session. We're gonna have faculty who previously have been awarded this award to come in and talk to folks to talk about how do you kind of get the mentorship relationship started, what are some things, and we have some templates and utilize information that they can utilize. And I think these are some of the things that it focuses on. We ask the applicants to be considerate, to consider if there's an impact on Drexel, what that would be very clear about that. Measurable outcomes and departmental support. We also, are there any department heads in here? No. We also offer department head leadership development training. This is a 3-part series for department heads, not only department heads, but also for academic leadership. So we always want to make sure that we include that, because we do know that some of the schools and colleges and some of the different areas don't have what you would consider, what you would say department heads, but they're still leaders in their area. So we work with a consultant from Penn. He does a great job. We're in our 2nd year. We're really, really full. So I know it's a ton of information. The website kind of houses all of that. I'm just trying to get everybody in the loop about what things are coming down the line and what's available. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay, great. Feel free to check out our website and take a look at the announcements whenever they come out. Thanks.
And with the remaining a little less than 10 minutes, I thought we could do Sean and Shree's kind of elevator pitch about the work they've done with students and research. So whoever wants to go first, and I'll cut you off after, let's say, 3 minutes. We'll go from there.
Okay. So we heard, thank you, Alanda. I think that was spectacular, really useful for all faculty. I'm going to stand so I can see you. So I want to say 3 things. So all the stuff that we do are very student-centric and of course faculty-centric, and the grand scheme of things is going to help Drexel be exposed to the other institutions in the world. So we have to do the same for the other institutions we work with. So whenever I talk to a host faculty in another international site, I think about what is that we can do for them. You know, that's always a very important thing, and I do it in, I think of 3 ways we can do it. What do we do for their students? What do we do for their faculty? And then what do we do for their institution? At the same time, each of those can also help us, okay? So I'll tell you what we can do for their students while we send our STAR scholars there. The faculty do it at no cost to us, right? And it's completely pro bono for us. They're spending their time and resources to give our students the research experience. What we can do for their students is we can teach a course, a short course when we are there, on topics that are not currently being explored in that institution or even in that country. There are grants that will support you and your time to do that. Specifically, if you're focused on India, there is a grant called GIAN. Please look up that acronym. It's Grant Initiatives for Academic Networks. They give out 60 or so GIAN grants every year to teach a 1-week course or a 2-week course. For a 1-week course, you get $7,000. For a 2-week course, you get $10,000. You have to pay for your flight tickets, and housing is mostly provided by the institution. If not, it's really cheap. So you, as a faculty, you come out cash positive from that experience, but you've taught the students in that institution. It can be in any institution, any discipline of study. It's not just engineering, it's really anything. So I highly recommend you to apply. There are international faculty from all over applying. It's very competitive. Only 60 are selected in a year to go to any Indian institution and teach. I was lucky enough to get a GIAN award 2 years ago, and I taught at IIT Madras. And that gives them an indication that, you know what, it's not just us doing something for this faculty and their institution, but the faculty wants to do something for our students and our institution. That's number 1. Number 2, what can you do for the faculty? You can work on collaborative grants with them and host their graduate students in your lab as short-term research fellows, both of which I have done. Again, there are ways that will make it cost-free for you, still have it collaborative. There's another acronym. It's USISTEF, United States India Science and Technology Endowment Fund. This is specifically for technology and science and engineering, but I'm sure there are other funding avenues for other disciplines. So what this specifically does is United States, I don't know what department within the United States, NIH or NSF perhaps, and Indian version of NSF came together, had this huge amount of money that they pulled in. They'll fund 4 proposals a year for the USISTEF grant. It's very translationally focused, so they don't want you to just do research with the Indian partner, but have a commercial product that stems from it. So it's extremely riveting for the Indian collaborator, the Indian institution to work with you because there's a tangible product that will come out of it. I applied twice, didn't get it. It's very, very competitive, but you can look into that. I hosted 2 PhD scholars from IIT Madras last year for 3 months. I had grant money that could fund them. They get stipend from their Indian institution to cover their travel. Their housing expenses were covered with my $2,000 a month stipend for each of them here. So I paid $6,000 per head. It covered their housing and food, didn't make them rich, but they were able to do research. The idea was they developed tools there that we can use for our data. So it was truly collaborative. We published 2 or 3 abstracts, and then we are working on papers. So that's what we did for faculty. Thirdly, and most importantly, what can we do for the institution? First of all, try to create an overarching memorandum of understanding with any institution you plan to do the iSTAR Scholar program with, or any program with. The overarching umbrella can include anything that deals with student involvement, faculty exchange, teaching, etc., research, as well as institutional programmatic development. So that's what we did with SSN. We created this international Master of Science program in engineering between Drexel Biomed and SSN. It allows for students to finish 15 or so credits at SSN and then transfer to Drexel, finish the other 30 credits, and get a Drexel master's degree. No different from a student who transferred from, let's say, Temple University with 15 credits to Drexel, right? But it's a fantastic way of having a collaborative Master of Science program. It's a very student recruitment. It can work both ways. So think of other ways in which you can benefit. At the same time, the other institution also sees value and benefits from this collaboration.
If I can just follow up on that real quick. If
Yeah.
you are looking for a partner internationally and you're hoping to set up a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, then please loop in the Office of Global Engagement because we can help you, getting that agreement with this institution.
Adam Zahn also has wonderful templates that have worked. We have done so many different models, even with these programs that we've developed. Also, the umbrella policy is quite generic, that it allows you to do all of the above. The iSTAR, student exchange, at the undergraduate level, graduate fellows coming in, faculty going and teaching, doing research. That's wonderful. So, thank you.
Thank you. Sean?
Hi, again, I'm Sean O'Donnell from the Bees Department in Biology. My experience with undergrad research internationally is actually quite different, which I think is actually maybe a good thing because I can offer a really different model for how you can pursue this and how you can pull it off. It's a very different scale. I work in Latin America. I happen to work in a field site primarily that does not really have, basically any research infrastructure. There is no research station there. There is no university locally for me to collaborate or cooperate with. I've been going there for quite a long time now, a couple of decades, and really kind of doing it on my own and on the fly. And so I've basically just plugged Drexel undergraduates into my ongoing research program. And it has not only been iSTAR students, I've brought other Drexel students down as well. In fact, I do quite regularly. Sometimes I have a mix of STAR students and other students coming down for research. But have brought down Drexel students almost every year that I've been here. I think I missed 1 year. I brought a STAR student along to Costa Rica for research. So I think that faculty can think about, you don't have to have a partner institution. You don't have to interface with another university. You don't have to have international collaborators. The students go down with me or with my graduate students. They live on site. They're doing research in the field in Latin America. They get a full, I think, if you get to talk to any of my students, a full, very intensive immersion. It's both a research and a very much a cultural experience for all of them. I think they have all absolutely loved it. The payoffs have been fantastic for me. A lot of these students end up as co-authors on actual scientific publications. At least they're giving posters, writing, abstracts, presenting at meetings. Almost all of them have stayed on and worked in my lab. One of the payoffs for me is I end up getting students that stick with me. If they don't come back into the field, at least they stay on and do laboratory-based research in my lab, and many of them stay on through graduation. So it's been a real boon for my research program, and definitely has brought some fantastic students into my lab. And so, as you might have seen on the graph there, I never have a lot of students. It's 1 or 2 in any given year. I would be very happy to see that number grow, but I think with the model that I'm pursuing right now, as I said, kind of doing it on the fly and doing it on my own, it's going to be difficult to get the numbers up. But I think there's plenty of opportunity for faculty to pursue that kind of model for plugging undergrads into your field work internationally. So I kind of make a pitch for that and encourage faculty to think about doing that. Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us this morning. I know I'm back also. And feel free to stick around, ask questions, continue chatting. And if you did register for the event, we'll send around some of these presentation slides and